I'm gonna show you the top 5 supplements that you should be taking if you have vertigo, dizziness, BPPV, Meniere's disease, or even a vestibular neuritis. I'm also gonna tell you exactly how to take it, the types to look out for, but also the dosage levels that you need in order to see the results at home. I'm Dr. Matthew Posa, and I'm a chiropractor in Milton, Ontario, Canada. I help people get over their spine-related health issues so they can heal from the inside out and live the life that they were designed to live. If you want more content like this, please subscribe to my page, and don't forget to share this information with the people we know that need it the most. I'm gonna go in order from least to my absolute favorite. The first supplement that we're starting with is Ginkgo Biloba. This one is excellent if you have dizziness and or vertigo associated with tinnitus or tinnitus, which is that loud pitch ringing in the ears, or if you know that you have a vestibular issue. There is a little bit of caution with this one because it is also a blood thinner. It can thin your blood. So the first thing that I would do is make sure that you have this conversation with your family doctor, especially if you're on any type of blood thinning medications or anything to do with your heart. It is extracted from a leaf, and that is the compound that you're looking for. So if you go to a natural health food store, or you're looking for your supplements online, I would just make sure that it is derived directly from a leaf. So therefore, this one would be vegan friendly. And you wanna take 120 to 240 milligrams per day. Now, if you're no stranger to my page, you've heard me mention this one next. This is Magnesium Bisglycinate or Magnesium Glycinate. This one is excellent because not only does it easily absorb into your body, it really helps your joints, your muscles, your gut, and even your brain. So this is why it's recommended. But it is one of the types of magnesium that does not usually cause diarrhea or constipation or some stomach issues. So this is why this one is the easiest for most people to take, and it's the one that we know easily absorbs into the body, so that way we're getting the effect that we're looking for. This one is in particularly good for people who have, again, vertigo or dizziness, but then you're also seeing signs of headaches, because research has showed that when people take magnesium bisglycinate and they have headaches, migraines, and or the vertigo symptoms, especially when they're together, then this has been excellent at being able to reduce those symptoms. You want to take 400 to 800 milligrams per day, and I would split that up. Morning, I would take about half, and then at night, and especially with food, so therefore you reduce even less any of the problems with your stomach and or your gut. In the number 3 spot is vitamin B12. Now this one is very important because when you think B, you always think brain, but this one in particular really acts on the nerve cells. And when we're talking about things with the inner ear, inner balance, the nerves that literally go from the inside of your head, but also your brain and your spinal cord that exit at the top of your neck, well, these nerves can be heavily affected by imbalances or falls or even trauma to the area. So when we look at the nerves itself and we want the body to heal that, then what we want to do is make sure you have enough vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is usually found in meats and eggs and poultry, and then you have fish or even things like organ meats. So if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, then this usually you'd have to supplement this for sure, but also there's a lot of people who aren't taking this enough, and so this is where supplementation becomes extremely important. And in some cases that you'll actually have to get an injection. On average, you want to take about 2.4 micrograms to 2.8 micrograms. That is generally the amount that you should be taking per day, especially if you're going to be supplementing. But the most important part about taking vitamin B12 is the type of vitamin B12, because there's different types of vitamin B12. In most products that you find out there, you're going to find something, if you look at the back of the label, you're going to see something that says Cyanocobalamin. Now, cyanocobalamin is the synthetic form of this. It's man-made. And the way that they make this one is they use cyanide, and they're able to derive the vitamin B12 using that. So it is not the form that I would recommend. It is safe for consumption, and hence that's why they do it. But it is the synthetic form, and therefore it does have a reaction. And in this case, it's usually inflammation, which is what we're trying to get away from. So when you're looking for a cobalamin, which is vitamin B12, what you're really looking for is two other types. And the reason why we're looking at these is because it's what we call bioavailable. Bioavailable meaning your body can absorb it and use it versus it having a chance of reaction. So the first and my favorite type is something called methylcobalamin, and that's something you would look at the back of the bottle and you'd be able to find that quite easily. It will be listed. And the other one is adenosylcobalamin. Now this one is really interesting because it is also better absorbable, just like the methylcobalamin. However, this one acts differently, and what it does is it goes into the mitochondria of your cell. So going back to some old school biology, if you look at the cell, every cell inside your body has a nuclear generator. It has its energy source, and the energy source is really made from something called your mitochondria, and the mitochondria make ATP. So when your brain is trying to heal, if you're trying to get your cells inside your body to heal, the more ATP production your body can do, the better the mitochondria inside your cells can work, then you're gonna see better results. And so what's really interesting with that form of it is we're actually able to increase or change the mitochondria, and therefore we're gonna see an effect that way. So that is a form that you can look for. Sometimes you can find methylcobalamin and adenosylcobalamin together, and that would be really cool. That's something you can definitely take. But if you take either or, that's okay too. Just stay away from the other form, which is the cyanocobalamin. Based on research, this is the thing that is usually missing from people. And what they found when they do these large-scale research studies is they're able to look at people who suffer from vertigo, Meniere's disease, vestibular neuritis, or even things like BPPV. And what they found is the body is actually reacting because you have low levels of this one vitamin. So what vitamin are we talking about? It's vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 is not only an essential vitamin, it is the only vitamin that your body actually makes. Shows you how important it is. But what's really interesting with vitamin D3 is that a lot of people take this in a pill or a capsular form versus my favorite form, which is taking it as a liquid. Now, why we like it as a liquid is because it becomes easier to absorb, but also distributes better within the body. If you take a pill form of it, I'm not saying that's horrible, don't necessarily throw that one out, but if we're really looking at how your body uses these molecules, then when you use the liquid, what you're doing is you're allowing for this fat-soluble vitamin to be absorbed better into the body and therefore used. So we want to be able to increase your chances of using this. This is something that I would stress, or at least recommend, that you definitely talk to your medical doctor and go get a blood test. Now, if you can get a blood test and measure your vitamin D levels, therefore your supplementation will be even better, because then you'll know where you sit on the normal range and how much vitamin D3 that you really need to supplement with. In some cases, some people are too high, but generally, based on the research, most people who have had vertigo, dizziness, Meniere's disease, BPPV, all these type of associated issues with vertigo and dizziness, usually were low. So how much should you be taking? So when you are supplementing with this, you want to take about 4,000 IUs all the way up to 6,000 IUs. If you live in a colder climate like I do, I'm in Canada. So in Canada right now, we're not getting a lot of sun. So I'm taking 6,000 IUs per day. My kids, who are very young right now, they are also supplementing with vitamin D3, but they're nowhere near those levels. They're around 1,000 IUs because we're also going by the fact that they're kids. In the summertime, I usually go down to 4,000 to 5,000 IUs per day, mostly because I do love being out in the sun, and therefore I know that my body is converting that sunlight and using that in order to make the vitamin D. And the last vitamin that I'm gonna go through is not necessarily the most important, but it's associated with D3, and therefore you should be taking it together. And a lot of times you're gonna see it in packaging where they're literally together in the one. You'll see vitamin D3 and K2. So vitamin K2, a lot of times people think of vitamin K as clotting factor. It really helps with your body and your blood. However, what's really interesting with vitamin K2, especially in the presence of vitamin D, is that it allows for better absorption. In the cases of people who have Meniere's disease or BPPV, so benign paroxysmal positional vertigo, then what we want to do is reabsorb the crystals that are forming inside the ear. And so in the presence of vitamin K2, your body can actually reabsorb calcium back into the bones where they belong. So when you are looking for a vitamin D, I would look for a vitamin D that has K2 in it. And this one, based on research, is best used as a ratio. So I'll explain the ratio. The ratio is 1,000 IUs of vitamin D3 to 10 micrograms of vitamin K2. So in my case, when I take in the summer, especially 5,000 IUs of vitamin D, I'm looking for 125 micrograms of vitamin K2. And if you're not sure what else you can do, if you have vertigo or dizziness, and what foods you need to avoid, please watch this video right here, because in that video, I'm gonna show you exactly the types of food that you need to avoid in order to be put on the right path so you can get through this.